Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down my top 36 running back rankings and tiers for week number 12 of the 2024 fantasy football season. But before we can get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do want to enjoy today's video, then make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 12 running back rankings and tiers for the 2024 fantasy football season. We begin with the no-brainer running backs 1 tier with my running backs 1 through 4. At number 1 to lead things off here, we got Devon Achane, running back of the Miami Dolphins, going up against the New England Patriots. Now, with Tua Tagovailoa under center, Devon Achane has been a top 6 running back in every single game except for one, which was up against the Rams in prime time in week number 10. Devon Achane is as safe as it gets. He could see 6+ targets in this game. The team is really giving him a brunt of the workload. They want him to be the lead back on this team, and this guy has just been dominant basically every single game with Tua under center. So up against the Patriots, I expect nothing different this week. At number 2, we have Joe Mixon of the Houston Texans going up against the Tennessee Titans at home in Houston. With Joe Mixon, this guy was one of the biggest steals of drafts in 2024. I banged the drum aggressively for him all summer, just like I did with Devon Achane, and they have both paid out amazingly. Joe Mixon has been a top 8 running back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and he has played in 8 total games this year. He has 11 total touchdowns, and despite missing 3 games, he's the running back 7 on the season. I get that the Tennessee Titans defense is underrated, but ultimately, when Joe Mixon is playing this well, there is no reason to rank him any lower. At number 3, we have Saquon Barkley going up against the LA Rams in LA. Now, we have seen some very high highs with Saquon, and we have seen some low games, but ultimately, Saquon Barkley's upside is the running back 1 in any given game. Up against the Rams, I believe this is a scenario where we see a whole bunch of Saquon Barkley. The biggest frustrating fact about Saquon Barkley really has nothing to do with him and has everything to do with the fact that Jalen Hurts just vultures a bunch of his touchdowns all the time, especially as of recently. But Saquon Barkley is a top 3 running back on the season so far, and there is no reason to rank him any lower than the top 3 at this point in the season. To close out the top tier here, we got Derrick Henry, Tractorcito of the Baltimore Ravens going up against the other LA team, the Chargers, in LA on Monday Night Football. Now, Derrick Henry has scored a touchdown in every single game on the season, and he has scored multiple touchdowns in 4 games this season. He has 15 total touchdowns on the year in 11 games, and there is no reason to believe that Derrick Henry is going to stop in this game. This should be a great game script for Derrick Henry. The game should be either close or the Ravens should be winning, to where Derrick Henry is going to see a whole lot of usage. The times where Derrick Henry kind of gets phased out of the offense is when they are getting beat the ever-living shit out of, and they have to use Big Justice Hill a lot more to bring the boom. So Derrick Henry should be in a ton in this game. This is a great game script for him to finish inside of the top 5. Next up, we move on into the lower tier, no-brainer running back 1 tier, beginning with Christian McCaffrey. Now, the fact that big cock Brock Purdy is not going to be playing in this game does make me a little bit more nervous about Christian McCaffrey. Now, the offense is going to run through him like America runs on Duncan. He is going to see a whole lot of usage, but if the Packers are able to step on the throats here, if they're able to step on the gas, they're able to put the pedal to the fucking metal, this could be a game where it's so out of reach and they're not able to run the ball as much, and that will hurt Christian McCaffrey. Ultimately, though, Christian McCaffrey is Christian McCaffrey. So while I did bump him down from the top tier, ultimately I couldn't make much of an argument, even without Brock Purdy, to rank him lower than this. Next up, we got Kenneth Walker III going up against the Arizona Cardinals at home in Seattle. Now, Kenneth Walker has been on a bit of a skid as of recently. Like, normally, early on the season, Kenneth Walker was a stone cold fucking lock to be a top 12 running back, but recently he's cooled down a little bit. He still has 8 touchdowns on the season. He's missed 2 games and had a bye week. So Kenneth Walker has definitely been playing up to expectation. Going up against an Arizona Cardinals defense that I believe could get gashed by the run here, I expect another solid game out of Kenneth Walker, and for him to get back to his old ways of being a top 12 running back. At number 7, we got Jahmyr Gibbs of the Lions going up against the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis. Not only is this a wet dream matchup, not only is this a game where the Lions could get up big, get up bigly, get up huge, and be laying the smackdown, brother, and having to run the ball out a ton late, even if they're close in the game, even if Anthony Richardson pulls a rabbit out of his hat, Jahmyr Gibbs is still going to get a lot of usage. The only downside to Gibbs is just that they have David Montgomery, who's going to steal some touchdowns, get some work in there as well. But ultimately, Jahmyr Gibbs in a matchup like this, even if he has a down game, he's going to be like the running back 12. So this feels like a very locked and loaded running back inside the top 12 here up against the Colts in Indy. Next up, we got James Conner going up against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. Now, that defense, the 12-man from the past for the Seahawks, is just dead at this point. This Seahawks defense is not living up to my expectations at all, as they are getting plowed like they are on the bang bus. So James Conner should be able to put belt to ass in this game. James Conner has been playing phenomenally this season. He's been a top 20 running back in 4 straight games, and his last game prior to the bye up against the Jumbo Jets, he was the running back number 4. Kyler Murray has played well, and honestly, if the Arizona Cardinals offense could just be a little bit more consistent, if they could be a lot better of an offense than some games where they kind of have their downward spirals, then James Conner could be a top 5 running back every single week in the rankings. The only problem is the offense is a little bit inconsistent. Ultimately, though, even in the inconsistent games, even in the games where Kyler really isn't looking the best, James Conner has still been able to finish solidly. Next up, we got Kyren Williams going up against the Philadelphia Eagles at home in LA on Sunday Night Football. Now, Kyren Williams is another one of these guys that has been on a bit of a downward skid. Now, early on in the season and dating back to last year, this guy was on a streak like no other of scoring touchdowns. This guy was just living inside of the end zone. From weeks 1 through week 8, he scored a touchdown in every single game. And I believe going back to last year, I'm pretty sure 4 games straight back into last year, he also had a touchdown in every single game. The guy's phenomenal. Amazing running back. He's on a great team, but the Eagles defense has been playing a little bit better. But eventually, Kyren's going to play better. He's going to find his way into the end zone. And even though I don't love this matchup on paper, I think Kyren Williams could still end up legitimately being the running back 1 on the week. Next up, we got Josh Jacobs of the Green Bay Packers going up against the 49ers. Now, the fact that Nick Bosa is not playing is a huge boost for this Packers offense as a whole. And the fact that Brock Purdy isn't playing also could mean that the Packers are laying down haymakers, 12 to 6 elbows, fucking John Bones Jones style. And what that could lead to is a whole lot of running from the Green Bay Packers. And I believe that that is going to lead Josh Jacobs to potentially having one of his best games of the season. I know it was a slow roll for Josh Jacobs. He didn't really play all that well early on in the season, but he has took things into hyperdrive as of recently. This 49ers matchup is great. Shout out Tony the Tiger, and especially with the Packers being up narrative, I think Jacobs has a whole lot of upside in this game. In his last game out up against the Bears, a tougher matchup in my opinion, he was the running back number 5. To close out the lower tier no-brainer running backs ones, we got Kareem Hunt going up against the Carolina Panthers in Carolina. Now, this could end up being the metaphorical last ride for Kareem Hunt, not because Kareem Hunt has, the wheels have fallen off and he's gotten worse as the season prolongs, but the fact that Isaiah Pacheco isn't playing this week really indicates that he's probably going to play next week. And I think it's not going to be very long until he's the clear, undisputed running back 1, and Kareem Hunt's kind of just picking up the scraps. With a wet dream matchup up against the Panthers, this is a great way to go out. Next up, we move on into the high-end running back 2 tier here, and we begin with Jonathan Taylor, JT, going up against the Detroit Lions. Now, the fact that the Lions defense is pretty good does have me panicking a bit about Jonathan Taylor. Though Jonathan Taylor should be a lot more consistent with Anthony Richardson under center. I know that last game out up against the Jets when the Indianapolis Colts laid down the pipe. when the Indianapolis Colts raw dogged the Jets defense. Jonathan Taylor was only scoring 7 fucking PPR points as the running back 30, but I do think brighter days are ahead. We know how great Jonathan Taylor is, and again, I think Anthony Richardson helps out Jonathan Taylor's value, so while one game being down might scare some people, it doesn't worry me at all. Next up, we got B-Rob, Brian Robinson, going up against the Dallas Cowboys in Jerry's World. In his return game after missing back-to-back weeks, he had 16 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown as the running back 15 up against a stout Eagles defense last week. Now going up against a Dallas Cowboys defense that crumbles like the fucking Jenga tower when you just tap it. A little bit too wrong. Little bit too wrong, as if that's the correct terminology, but you know what I mean. Like when you play Jenga for a while and it gets all the way to the point where like you're trying to hit out like the sides and hope that the thing somehow stays together. That's basically the point that the Dallas Cowboys defense is at. It's like you've been playing Jenga for 20 minutes. You know, at the beginning, it's very easy. You don't even really have to pay attention unless you're just hammered off your mind. Now, playing Jenga when you are absolutely shit-rocked is one of the most fun experiences ever, but it's also very frustrating. But for me, as someone who just has shaky hands in general, I don't know why. My hands are just very shaky. I don't know if you can tell. Maybe the camera doesn't pick it up as well. My hand does shake a little bit, and I'm trying to make it not shake. But when I'm drunk, for some reason, my hand doesn't shake, like, at all. It's, like, weird, and my friends make fun of me for it. They're like, why does your hand not shake anymore? Blah, 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 blah. And I don't know. It's just kind of funny. It's an interesting tidbit of information about me. But we're not talking about Jenga. We're talking about fucking football here, Nick. Nick, you're wasting too much time talking about random shit. Nick, we don't care about your life, Nick. We're just here for you to talk about fantasy football, you cocksucker. And that's fine, too. But Brian Robinson going up against the Cowboys. Great matchup. We just saw Mixon legitimately dick this defense down, so I'm feeling real nicey about Brian Robinson. Next up, we got Tyron Tracy going up against the Bucks. Now, the biggest question mark about Tyron Tracy has nothing to do with him. We know this guy's phenomenal. I sucked him dry, metaphorically, of course, in the offseason, talking about how if Singletary got hurt or if Tracy was able to eclipse Singletary, Tracy could be a league winner, and he has shown off the upside immensely. But we've also seen the downside, which is, hey, if the Giants offense can't really move the ball, then Tracy's going to get put on the back burner. And the fact that the offensive line isn't the best also definitely hurts Tyron Tracy. Now, Tommy DeVito being under center doesn't really bring a big boost to the offense, in my opinion. I think it's either going to make things slightly better or slightly worse. But what it could do is turn Tyron Tracy into this dump-off machine who's now just getting like 5 or 6 targets a game instead of his normal like 2 or 3. So going up against the Bucks defense, I love this matchup. I think the Bucks defense is going to part like the Red Sea for Moses. The real question is, how does Tommy DeVito play in this game? And that's going to dictate how we talk about Tracy and Wandale and Malik Neighbors going forward. Next up, we got David Montgomery going up against the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis. Now, there's going to be people that are like, Nick, you have David Montgomery ranked too low yet again. You need to just rank him in the top 10 every week. He's ranked as my running back 15. So if you wanted to make the argument like, oh, I like him better than JT, who's my running back 12, then go right ahead. David Montgomery is exactly what I thought he would be in the summer. I was someone that was really pumping up the tires of David Montgomery. I was giving him the Suka Lamink special, and people were like, Nick, you can't draft David Montgomery because David Montgomery's going like the 5th or the 6th round, sometimes the 4th round, and he's the backup for Jahmyr Gibbs, blah, 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 blah. And they can't both perform at the same time. Two greats can't coexist. Well, that's completely wrong because they are the yin and the yang of this offense. They can coexist. They can both dominate together. Running back 4 last week for Dave Montgomery, 2 fucking touchdowns. You do it again up against the Colts. This offensive line is a brick wall. This offense is one of the best, if not the best in the league. And this is also a team that will run up the score. So even if the Colts are struggling, we could see this offense put things into hyperdrive. I think I've already said that analogy multiple times, but put this offense into a whole nother level and just score 50 fucking points just because. Fuck them, right? Fuck them. That's why. So David Montgomery is a very safe asset. Final guy inside of this tier is going to be Aaron Jones going up against the Chicago Bears in Chicago. Now, to me, Aaron Jones is kind of a safe bet to be a top 24-ish guy every single week. Now, the fact that the Minnesota Vikings offense has kind of seen its trials and tribulations as of recently, whereas early on in the season, they came out the gate hotter than Sydney Sweeney in Euphoria. But ultimately, I think Aaron Jones is going to get it done up against the Bears. The Bears defense hasn't been great up against the run as of recently. And eventually this Vikings offense is just going to figure it out, score a million points, and that could easily be up against the Bears. Next up, we move on into the mid-tier running back 2 tier here. And as you will notice, things aren't really that crazy just yet, right? We're not really ranking a guy that shouldn't be ranked super highly just yet because there's 6 teams on bye. But after this tier is where you're going to really start to see that things are getting a whole lot worse and we're really digging the bottom of the barrel. I guess you could make the argument that Nick, Rachaad White, and Bucky Irving shouldn't be ranked this high, but honestly, I like them in their matchup. So Ramondre Stevenson is the next running back here on the docket, the headliner of the mid-tier running back 2 tier. But hey, Junior. But before we talk about this tier at running backs, and then the next tier, the tier after that, the tier after that, and the tier after that, and then we get on out of here, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog and sign up using promo code Notorious, or by clicking on the link in the video description, or by using promo code Notorious, you will get a free pick, which today on Saturday is going to be LeBron James, higher than half a total point. You match that with any other player playing in the NBA, and if both of your picks hit, you receive 3 times what you put in your pick 'em. If you put in multiple other picks, they'll have to hit, but the payout will be higher. If you're watching this, you might be thinking, Nick, I'm watching this on Sunday. Then on Sunday, you'll receive an NFL player higher than half of a total yard. Same thing goes with the NFL player. Plus, you'll receive a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. So this is an excellent deal, a great deal, I might add. So make sure you guys check that out. Promo code Notorious. Click on the link in the video description to get your free pick on Underdog, plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. So Ramondre Stevenson is as hit or miss as it gets. Now, last week, he kind of found his level. He kind of found his middle. He had his mid-game because previous to this, he's either like the running back 40 or the running back 8, and there really wasn't any middle. Last week, he was the running back 18. Last time out up against the Dolphins, Ramondre Stevenson ran a train on the Dolphins defense. As a Dolphins fan, I was shocked that we were able to win that game. Ramondre Stevenson was unstoppable. The Dolphins defense normally sucks donkey cock up against the run, so I do expect Ramondre Stevenson. This is a 5-star matchup. Shout out GTA. The Dolphins defense might need to call Lester to get Ramondre Stevenson out of here because I really do think Ramondre is going to have a huge game. But the problem is, Nick, why don't you have him ranked higher if you think he's going to have a huge game? Because of the up and down nature of Ramondre. Even if I love him, I wouldn't be surprised if he kicked me right in the gonads and ended up having a terrible game. Next up, we got J.K. Dobbins going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Another guy that I heavily talked up in the summertime. Running back 10 last week up against the Bengals. Now, the usage of these other running backs on the goal line has me up to here. I'm getting very angry at Harbaugh. The fact that they're passing the ball more also hurts J.K. Dobbins a little bit, but they have been getting into scoring opportunities. He has 8 touchdowns on the year. Dobbins is another one of these guys that kind of just feels like a cookie cutter top 24 back. Next up, we got both Bucks. We got Rachaad White and Bucky Irving. We'll start off with Rachaad with 2 A's White going up against the Giants in MetLife. Now, Rachaad White, is he the definition of efficiency? No. Is he the most effective guy on earth? Fuck no, baby. He's averaging 3.8 yards per carry. But this guy sucks in targets with the efficiency that Sarah J sucks in schlong, right? He is an incredible pass-catching running back. He gets a lot of targets. Baker loves targeting him, and he's been a top 24 running back now in 4 straight games ever since coming back from the injury, and he's had 2 games inside the top 5. This game has top 5 upside written all over it. His biggest problem, his biggest malfunction, what's your major malfunction, is that... shout out Full Metal Jacket, is that he has other running backs in the room, such as Bucky Irving, who's ranked behind him, who also can catch passes and will also get a bunch of touches. Now, just like Rachaad White, Bucky Irving has also been relatively hot, running back 7, 41, 18, 16, and 12 over the last 5 games prior to the bye. Again, just like Rachaad White, these guys fill a mold inside the top 24, which at this point is undeniable. The biggest difference between the two is that Bucky Irving is a whole lot more efficient, but the difference between the two and that also is while Rachaad White is a lot more inefficient, Rachaad White's got the nose for the end zone. He scored a touchdown or more in 4 straight games and 5 total touchdowns over the last 4. games. Next up, we move on into the 5th tier here, which is the low-end running back 2 range, headlined by my main man, and it is going to be tough mentally for me to be like, oh, you gotta rank this guy this low, and that's going to be Chuba Hubbard. Now, the reason why Chuba Hubbard is ranked this low is not because I think Chuba Hubbard has lost a step, or because, oh, I don't think that Chuba Hubbard is any good anymore, and oh, the fact that they have Jonathan Brooks now is going to potentially throw a huge wrench into things. I don't think Jonathan Brooks is going to take away too big of a piece of the pie this early on in the season. But what I will say is that when you go up against the Kansas City Chiefs as a running back, you just have to know this is one of the worst, if not the worst matchup for a running back in fantasy football. Now, Chuba Hubbard's been a top 10 running back in back-to-back games, 3 total touchdowns over that span in Germany. The guy was amazing, over 150 yards rushing and a touchdown, 16 receiving yards. He was amazing, but against the Chiefs, I do expect him to cool down, even if they're using the just the tip technique with Monsieur Jonathan Brooks. Now, DeAndre Swift has the Q tag, questionable with the groin. He was able to he was able to log, shout out to Lincoln and his logs, a full practice session on Friday. I would expect him to suit up and have his full allotment of touches. Now, this guy is just at the Lamborghini mercy of Caleb. Is Caleb going to show up like last week? If he does, then Swift could be a top 10 running back. If Caleb falls apart, like that Post Malone song, DeAndre Swift could be on the struggle bus. Now, we've seen him be able to perform even when Caleb sucked ass. But up against the Vikings, I don't think this is necessarily the matchup you want to mess around with and really rank DeAndre Swift super high. Next up, we move on into the high-end running back 3 tier here. Tony Pollard and Austin Eckler. Now, no Tajay Spears means that Tony Pollard does get a little bit safer, but going up against the Texans is far from an ideal matchup. So, running back 24, 25, 23 in that kind of range feels fair to me. I love Tony Pollard. I really do. I hope he outperforms my ranking. I've got him on one of my teams. I need to win this week because my team is just getting fucked. It's getting fisted by other teams because, every single time I'm feeling like a Muppet because there's a hand up my ass by the fact that every time I have a great game, my opponent also has a great game. I just got to start playing better defenses in fantasy. So I'm hoping Pollard pops off, but I don't want to hold my breath too much because I don't really like the matchup. Then we got Eckler. Eckler is going to probably be like a top 28 running back every single game. Now, the thing with Austin Eckler is while he's been popping off, top 13 running back in now 3 straight games, we got to understand that he really relies on getting a shit ton of targets or busting off one of those targets for a huge gain with Brian Robinson healthy. B-Rob is healthy, back for a second game in a row, so he might be even more healthy, sucking in more targets, more volume. But Eckler's fine. Again, when there's 6 teams on bye, a guy like Eckler is going to get that bump up. Next up, we move on into the YOLO tier. Shout out to the Lonely Island. We begin with Javonte Williams. Now, last week, I was talking up Audric Estime. Wow, look at this matchup against the Falcons. Wow, they really kind of pushed the offense. The feng shui is pointing towards Estime. Now, I didn't bang the drum too much. I didn't fucking suck the guy off, metaphorically, of course, too hard, but I did like him. Wow, Sean Payton's really talking him up. Wow, look, he was the guy up against the Chiefs. What can he do up against the Falcons? And then Sean Payton fucking backhands us, right? Serena Williams style, backhand. And then he front-handed us, like that Key and Peele sketch. Front hand, backhand, right? And said, Javonte, it's your time, baby. Running back 11. What the fuck? Now the question is, can he do it again? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's Estime season this time. Or maybe it's Jaleel McLaughlin season this time. Who fucking knows with Sean Payton? This offense is great. Bo Nix looks incredible. Bo Nix is amazing. But why would we trust any of these guys? Next up, we got, you might just get hit with Rico McMillan. Rico Dowdle going up against the Commanders. Now, on paper, this is the type of matchup where you're bricked up at night thinking about it, where you're salivating going to sleep thinking about it. But realistically, we have Cooper Rush, not Dak. Nick, Dak's not very good. I know Dak didn't play the best this season, but Dak is 9,000 times better than Cooper fucking Rush. Cooper Rush played better last week. Rico Dowdle was the running back, 35. Now, Rico Dowdle possesses a lot of skills, right? He could take one of those dump offs, run 99 yards to the fucking crib. They want to use him a lot. But with Cooper Rush under center, let's not get too high and mighty on ourselves, right? Next up, we got Amir Abdullah, running back of the Las Vegas Raiders, going up against the Denver Broncos. Now, it's late at night, so I don't want to go full on Raiders and have the neighbors fucking knocking on the door. Nick, stop fucking screaming. Fuck yourself, okay? Amir Abdullah going up against the Broncos. Bad matchup. Amir White, Alexander Madison probably not going to play, so Amir Abdullah could fit like a glove. Shout out O.J. Simpson in this offense and find the end zone. This offense isn't very good, so again, that's why he is in the YOLO tier. Final tier here is going to be the YOLO part dos, is going to be Mr. Roshan, Estime, and Justice Hill. Now, Roshan, he's got a nose for the end zone. Got a big nose. Shout out Pinocchio, right? He loves finding the end zone. He scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touchdowns in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. So 5 touchdowns in 8 games. Pretty decent. It's annoying as a Swift owner, but he gets touches. Had 10 carries last week and a target. Now, is it more likely that he gets 10 or goes back to his normal 5? We shall see. But because of his red zone usage in a week where there's 6 teams on bye, need a deep shot from half court, full court, 3 courts over, the next gym at the YMCA, then yeah, Roshan could be that option for you. Aldrich Estime. Now, he looked good in week 10. Didn't get as many carries last week, but he got a couple more targets. Matchup up against the Raiders, finger licking good. But who knows how many touches he's going to get. Final guy here, Big Justice Hill, looking to bring the boom in this game up against the Chargers. Now, this does not feel like a good game script for him, but... and this is a big but. Shout out to Celestia Vega, even though she didn't have a big ass. Anyone that is a gamer back in 2018, you know who Celestia Vega is. That's the chick. Now, this was before I had a girlfriend, so this is going to sound like a real horny moment. She was the girl that dropped one of those tapes that goes on the other tube that isn't the U one, the other one, the opposite of blue. That tube. And... but it was actually on the hub where this video dropped. It was on Christmas, and I think it broke the website. I've never seen, I don't think anyone's ever been oh, time to go tug one off here, and you open that, and it just doesn't work. It literally did not work. There were people rubbing on the Lord's Day. Sick bastards. That's what I'll tell you. Real sick bastards. How do I know that? It was all over Twitter. Not because that's what I was doing. That might be weird to some of you guys that I bring up some stuff like this. It's all a joke. We're just here to have fun, just so you guys know, well, my analysis is real, right? What I'm saying about all these players is very serious. It's my legitimate opinion. We throw jokes in here, we're having a good time. Some of these stories, that's something that actually happened. That's something you can go research. Legitimate canon event. And I'm pretty sure that's also when that Lizard Squad also hacked GTA and GTA was down, or was the PlayStation down? One or the other. Back in 2018. I think it was the same day. If you remember, you remember. If you were a gamer like me, you remember. That's before I made videos, before I had a fiance. I'm not a sick bastard for knowing that. So have a great one. I hope you guys did end up enjoying today's video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below if you're new. Whether you are new to the channel or not, leave a like on today's video. Help me out a ton. Let me know if you understood that reference. If you didn't, that's okay. But let me know, because I'm going to sound like a real perv now that I said that. So make sure you guys check out Underdog. Promo code Notorious. Get your free pick. Plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Love you guys more than you'll ever know. Hope you guys have a great week number 12. Be back on Sunday with the live stream around 12 a.m. or p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're not going live at fucking midnight. 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Breaking out all the games, answering all your guys' questions. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Check out one of the videos if you haven't seen already. Love you a long time. As always, goodbye.